Hey guys, thanks for checking out the channel. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, and this is a review of God Forbid. And no, I'm not gonna say the rest of this movie has a long ass title. Just call it God Forbid. We don't need the whole thing. If you don't know if you can't figure out which movie I'm talking about, I don't know. It's on Hulu, okay? There can't be that many movies called God Forbid on Hulu. I'm a blind film critic, and this is one of those films that just has it's like God Forbid, and it has like colon, and it has like the extra like long ass title. It's just no. You don't need that. Just call it God Forbid. You don't need to explain the documentary in the title of the film. Could you imagine if every documentary did that? You know, like The Cove, the hunt for the area where they murder dolphins. Like, okay, well, you've explained the plot of the film. Let's just do that with every film. We'll just put the plot in the title so that people can see it. Yeah, it's a documentary. So this is actually like a pretty easy setup. Although I will say, since it has audio description, we do need to talk about it. It has Tansy Alexander's audio description too, which makes me feel. I hate when it's somebody that I like and I have notes, and I'm like, Tansy, I have notes. I think it might have been more helpful to remind us like who these people were when they were speaking, because as we go along, we accumulate a lot of talking heads, and I'm not really sure who any of them are. I mean, like, obviously, it's easy to follow Giancarlo, who is the focus of the documentary. And then after a while, his sister, because of the lack of female voices. But there's a lot of guys. I didn't even know Tom Arnold was in this until they got to the part where they were like, hey, Tom Arnold. And I was like, what? Has he been speaking? Has he been offering commentary? What is going on here? So that is, that would have been helpful. It's just a talking head, bounce from person to person as they're telling the experiences of, essentially, Giancarlo, back when he was young, fresh out of high school. He worked as a pool boy for a hotel, and or a pool attendant, if you want to, make it really official sounding. He worked at a pool professionally for a hotel, getting paid to do specifically pool related things, not the things for which he became infamous. Until one day, he sees a flirty older cougar, as he refers to her, who is giving him the eye, giving him a little like, hey, what's up? So he finds out what's up, and turns out she likes him. She wants to take him up to the room. But when they get up there, they're going to fool around. And her husband's going to watch. And her husband is Jerry Falwell Jr. And that is why we are making this documentary. It's produced by Adam McKay and his team. So they're the guys that are behind Succession right now, but they also made Don't Look Up, and they've made some other woke movies. I don't know. Does Don't Look Up woke because it was timely? I don't know. This one is, it just kind of tells Giancarlo's story, and it allows him to lay out all the evidence in a way that I don't know that anybody else really has let him lay out the evidence. I don't know that I'm sure people just think that he came in for some sort of money or whatnot. Like he just appeared out of nowhere as some sort of created weapon. But no, he's got all the pictures and everything, and all the text messages, and as the film progresses, he explains to you how his relationship with the Falwells progressed, and the things that, as he continues to have sex with Jerry's wife, how Jerry continues to help him out, like, financially, because this is like Jerry's thing he enjoys watching. And then eventually later on, like, participating in a I'll have seconds type of way. Could leave that at that. Yeah, so it talks a lot about Jerry Falwell Jr. and Liberty University, and the fall of Liberty University, which leads into sort of like a tangent where they start talking about this thing sort of snowballs to where they end up having to bring in Michael Cohen, and they start talking about Trump and how Jerry Falwell Jr. endorsed Trump, and how that whole thing went down, and sort of the fall of Jerry Falwell Jr. and Giancarlo's position in all this, and how his life has been sort of ruined and targeted, and it's hard for him to get a job, and his name has been tarnished because he can just be Googled, and everybody just associates him with this scandal. So that's what this documentary is. It's not necessarily shocking if you kind of expect this sort of thing. It's very much a preaching to the choir documentary. I don't think this really opened my eyes, because I was kind of like, yep, okay, I believe you, okay. I mean, if you are already sort of on that wavelength, this isn't going to be a documentary where you're like, oh, you don't say, really? I was like, nothing in this surprised me. I was like, oh, yeah, cool. He did that? Oh, really? Cool. Thanks for letting me know. But it wasn't, I think for some people, depending on where you sit on the political spectrum, you'll be like, no, he didn't. No, you're lying. Fuck you. Or you'll be like, what? He what? He what? It all depends on where you're at on the spectrum as this documentary goes forth. So I can't predict for you, whether or not you think how you'll react to Giancarlo's story. But there will be people who, even as he's revealing the evidence and the text messages and the photos, will just think it's like Hollywood magic. And they'll be like, no, this is just no, I'm not doing this. And they won't even finish the documentary. They'll just be like, no. And there'll be people who will watch this and they'll be like, what? I had no idea. This is amazing. And that's cool. This film was recommended to me by two people in my life in my real world life, who were like, oh my, this documentary is amazing. And in many ways it is. It's amazing because it gave a victim an opportunity to tell their story. Where I think it fails is as soon as it has the opportunity to go at Trump, it goes at Trump. And he's kind of involved. And I say that with the ever so slightest of thin threads, but he's a bigger focus in this because they're trying to connect some other stuff happening here. Tom Arnold's thing is he's trying to find the Trump tapes or whatever, and so that's what he's working with Michael Cohen and how he got into this Jerry Falwell stuff. So it shows this other side of why, and I get that being able to tie Trump to this at all is kind of a gotcha, but we spend a decent amount of time in this documentary on him. I mean, there's like, we get backstory on his campaign, like on how he announced and how he ran and all this stuff. Like, we, just in case you were in a coma for the last 10 years and you just didn't know, it doesn't just talk about him as if, we know who he was. Like any other president, you might, and if it was any other president that was connected, I don't know that you would necessarily go through the trouble of painstakingly reminding everybody how they rose to power. I don't know that you would, if this tied to Reagan, I don't know, we would go all the way back to, well, he started out as an actor, and then he worked his way into politics, becoming the governor of California, where he passed his, I just don't think we're going to do that. It was a weird choice for me, because the documentary is not about Trump, and it's barely about him. Like, he barely connects to this story. It's taking a fringe character and exploring them in great detail. I understand the desire to do it because it's Trump and it's Adam McKay and I know what he wants to do, but he also has to remember whose story he's telling, why he's telling it, and what the story is. And the story here, believe it or not, really is not Trump. It actually, I know, I'm baffled too. I would love to be able to say it is. It really is not. When you watch the story, when you watch and you see what's connecting, you'll see that in this case, I'm not going to say he didn't know. I'm not going to say he didn't participate or anything like that. No, I mean, he didn't participate in the way that, Jerry Falwell Jr. participates in this. But his involvement is just... it's just kind of like a mention. It's just kind of like a loose connection. It's not really connected to the core story of Giancarlo's story. It's connected in a way that Jerry Falwell Jr. was looking to be a kingmaker, and he announced Trump as the president. And then you're trying to tie Trump into this thing that is essentially this sex scandal that brought down Falwell Jr. and the legacy of Liberty University, and then it goes into a little bit of Liberty University and the hypocrisy that Falwell Jr. was leading that, and all of the sexual misconduct that's happened at that university, and so on and so forth. And that feels like a logical progression. The Trump thing kind of just feels like, hey, it's Trump, so let's talk about him. I mean, okay, you can do that, but we just spend a lot of time on it, a lot more time than we should. You don't need to explain who he is. I think everybody knows who he is. Just mention him. Just be like, this is how he was tied, and then just move on. We didn't need all the focus that we pull to. It's not his story, as much as you may want it to be. This is why people think films like this are, clickbait, yellow journalism, is because when you start telling Giancarlo's story and then it evolves into Jerry Falwell Jr.'s story as it goes along and sort of the rise and fall of him, that's your linear, that is your story, that's your movie. So when you start telling Donald Trump's story over here, it's only because he's a big name, and that's why you're doing it. So yeah, I told you I had notes on this damn thing, okay? I don't just watch movies and just be like, it was good. Watch it. So, I appreciate what Adam McKay does for Giancarlo, allowing him to tell his story in a way that presents him as a reliable narrator with actual proof and facts. And he's backed by his sister, who can corroborate that she was at certain things, and so was his mom, that they went to certain places and they got to meet, the Falwells and all that kind of stuff. So it's all there. There's a documentary here. It just, for a while, just feels the need to be like, oh, hey, look who's here. Look who showed up. And I think that's probably the weakest part of the documentary, is when it tries to pull in somebody who, to John Carlo's story, really has no relevance. Little to no relevance, I would say. So that's it on that. So I'm going to go ahead and I already gave my notes on the audio description up at the top. I think we needed more who the fuck is talking than we actually got, because I had no idea. I don't even know who's in this. I mean, I picked up the John Carlo and his sister, and at some point Tom Arnold. Aside from that, I really don't know who's in this. I don't know who was talking. I don't. To this moment, I really don't know. So, I mean, IMDb is not going to help me, because it's not going to help me go through and be like, oh, who was that talking there? Who was talking there? Who was talking there? I have no idea. So, I needed more of that. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm going to give God Forbid a B+. I think documentaries are pretty easy. You just have to tell the story, tell it in a way, tell it in an important way, a sensational way. You have to highlight what's important about it. He does all of that, but he detracts from his own documentary by Adam McKay and his director go after Trump. And as entertaining as that is, this was not the documentary to do that with. So that's it. If you've stayed this long, please click subscribe. That would be great. I'd probably polarize my entire audience just by reviewing this film. So go ahead and click subscribe. Because I'm trying to get to 100 this year, and I think I can do it. So, but I need subscriptions to do that. You can also go to my website, macthemovieguy.com. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the adna.org. That's the adna.org. And you can look up and see what else Tansy Alexander has done. That's it for me today. Until next time, but I will see you on the other side.